Now let's take a look at using ZRemesher to recreate the topology. So we've got our object here. I've gone ahead and turned off Dynamesh, and if you're remeshing that and things aren't combining, just make sure that you do turn the groups button off when you want to combine everything back together. So now that we have this, right now, if we take a look at this and kind of hover over it, you can see that we were working with about 180,000 polygons, which is too many for not only the simplicity of the shape, but also for how big it's going to be in our model. And so let's go back down to geometry, and let's close Dynamesh and come down to ZRemesher. Okay, and so what we can do is we can choose the target poly count. So this is in thousands. So right now it's set to 3,000. The default, I think, is 5,000. Okay. We also have the adaptive button on, and anytime you want to know more about what one of these things are, you can hold down the control key while hovering over. And so what this will do is it'll actually take a look, and not just at the target poly count, but it'll actually look at the trying to get an optimized or adaptive count for the model. So it's not going to be exactly 3,000 when you turn adaptive on. So it's going to be more dense in areas where it needs to be more dense and so forth. So it'll give some weight to that. All right, you can choose to keep your polygroups. We're going to go ahead and leave the rest of this off, and let's just hit ZRemesher and see what happens here. So it's going to go through and calculate that. Remember, we were at about 180,000 polygons, I believe. And so this is just a kind of an automatic retopology operation that happens in ZBrush. So it allows us to take something that's high res like this and kind of bake it down into a lower res model that we can modify. So you can see just from the wireframe, that is a lot easier to manage. Let's see how many polygons that is. So if we take a look at this, it's about 6,000. So with the adaptive on, it was close, but it's definitely much better than 180,000 for sure. And if we turn off this, so you can get something like that. And if you need to, you can still go in and smooth it. We can also use dynamic subdivision to smooth it as well. So if we just want to see it smoothed, we can go into geometry, dynamic subdivision, and just turn that on. And that way we don't have to add our subdivision levels. And that's something that's new in 4R7. And that's kind of the ability to come in here and just add that in. All right, so that lets us look at it sort of like in Maya, where you'd hit 3 on your keyboard to go to smooth mesh preview. This is the same sort of a thing. So even though this is low res, we can look at it as a smoothed piece. Okay. So Dynamesh is pretty cool, but actually in ZBrush 4R7, when we're working with models like this, there's actually an even cooler way to do it. And this is something that's really new. This is the Z modeler. And so let's take a look at that in the next lesson. We'll begin to create kind of a watch body. And we're going to do it very quickly using some techniques that we would normally maybe go to another application to use. We'll do that in ZBrush. So let's take a look at that next.